August 12th, 2019 Town Council meeting to order, and the first order of business is the invocation and the pledge.
Here with me. Almighty God, we thank you for the freedom to meet here without fear. God, we thank you for the chance to make fair and just decisions in the life of our town. Thank you for the safety of the events that have been held this summer, for the families and the children and all of the residents that have come out to enjoy the great things that Leonardtown has to offer. We pray these things in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Terry, want to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. See a great crowd like this today. Wish we had this kind of crowd every month, but anyway, did want to just mention before we get started that David Mattingly, I asked him to come today for a proclamation, but David's Flowers has been in business now for 30 years in town, so just wanted to mention that, and I'll deliver that to him. Okay, and we do have a public hearing at 4:15 for the text amendments for adding breweries, wineries, and distilleries. And we'll go on to the agenda here, the approval of minutes. Everyone should have received a copy of last month's agenda, or minutes.
I move to approve the July 8th, 2019 minutes as presented.
I second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Rebecca, Treasurer's report, please.
All right, we'll start with the July information that was in your packet. During the month, I did need to transfer $150,000 to the checking account. Since we are just in the first month of the new fiscal year, you'll see there's not a lot of activity. A few revenue items, a few expenses have been paid and posted to the current July period. Last week, the property tax bills were mailed. There were 1,600 taxable accounts, 145 exempt accounts in Leonardtown. So that means those are properties that have a zero valuation, exempt from taxes. I can say that although your July report doesn't reflect the revenue estimate, we will pass the budgeted amount. So as of right now, it'll be about $637,000 in property tax revenue. So that entry will hit next month's report. Briefly, we can talk about the preliminary FY19 budget report because I did also include that. We still have revenue accruals that will happen through the end of August. We'll have expenses that relate to FY19 that we're going to pay during August. I'll have final year-end adjustments that take place as part of the audit. And the audit field work will begin on September 10th. And one last item to just brief you about, the second condo at the Prada building did settle, and those proceeds were used to pay off the debt obligation for this building. So it's always great to be able to pay off a debt.
Yes.
That's it.
Just a quick question. You mentioned exempt accounts. Is that like the county buildings? And
County buildings, town properties,
right.
Churches, schools.
Right. Just didn't want people to think we were exempting.
No.
Okay. Anything else? Anything for Rebecca and council? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Oh,
no, I just said thank you.
Okay. Okay, Jada, Planning Department, please.
Planning and zoning, their last meeting was held July 15th. They had two items on the agenda. One was the detention center expansion project. Their final site plan was actually approved at that meeting. The other item that was on the agenda was the zoning text amendments to add the breweries, distilleries, and wineries. And they did send a favorable recommendation back to you for today's hearing.
Okay.
For this month, the meeting will be held next Monday, the 19th. We have another 2 items on the agenda. We have Old Town Auto Showroom, which is here on Hollywood and Point Lookout, the corner there. And then Meadows at Town Run, they need to subdivide a portion of the RV subdivided subdivision. How do you say that?
Well, it's really a kind of a boundary line adjustment.
There you go.
They're selling the parcel in the back that was John Muffin's house. And when they did the survey, they found that some of the property lines weren't where they thought, so they just need to make some adjustments on that.
Okay.
That's all I have.
That it? Any questions for P&Z? Thank you very much. And we've got a copy of Corporal Nelson's police report. Of course, we had a lot of events this last month, so that's full of them. I think Kristi's out today, but,
She's in training.
In training
She
today,
didn't
yep.
think she would get here in time.
okay. But thank you all for coming in her place. Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. And let's see, we can go to your report, Laschelle?
Okay.
I
Skip over
guess-
the,
yes.
the ordinance.
Right.
So the next item is Sweet Bay Restaurant and Bar liquor license letter of support. So, we have a request from the new restaurant that's gonna be located in the Seymour Town building on the first floor for a Class B, which is a restaurant license, for a liquor license letter of support. They're on the September agenda. And they are also requesting an extension of premises for outdoor seating on the sidewalk and using 2 of the parking spaces. I did include in your packets excerpts from the downtown strategic plan that we just adopted with Mayhem Reichel, and we're continuing that work on that. But they did spell out that this type of outdoor seating, it creates a vibrant downtown, and that it is something that we should encourage and work with the property owners to do that when we have the opportunity.
Okay. I see we've got Susan and Mike with us. Do y'all
Do you want to add anything?
give us an update on where you are?
We started construction, especially by November.
November, okay, great. Anybody have any comments, questions?
So I guess when it comes to the parking spaces, I mean, how are we gonna do that for now? We're just gonna block off 2, or?
The request was for 2 parking spaces to make a little bit larger area for tables so the passersby, just like at the Rex, they can still walk on the sidewalk. And more of a temporary type, as the plan suggested, would be large flower pots or a platform or something like that, is what the request is.
We've got Mayhem Reichel coming back to do some work, and we're going to be looking at how we would like to see those expansions done. So we don't want to necessarily approve today exactly what's going to be done, but, you know, my suggestion is we approve the 2 spaces, for example, and then we'll figure out how to make those arrangements. Is that, okay?
Would you guys be opposed to actually constructing the permanent bump out?
I don't think we're opposed. The question is when we would do that, because right now that would not be in the budget that we have, but
Yeah.
something.
Well, you're not even going to need these until the spring of next year, so. And
We
so,
consider it, not, this is a big investment. Maybe once we get the restaurant going.
but again, we're not even sure what we're going to ask them to do at this point, so.
So could it be something we relook at in 6 months or something?
Especially the expansion into the parking lot. I mean, I'm happy to give them a liquor license,
Well,
obviously.
I mean,
Right.
we are going to allow the expansion into up to 2 spaces. So I would include that, but just not exactly how it's going to be. That's something we'll work with them on. But I don't think they need to go back to the liquor license for that expansion. But it has to be approved, whatever they do is gonna have to be approved by the
What's the
by
process to go back?
consensus.
What's the process to go back to the liquor board and get an expansion for those two parking spaces?
Well, you have to go back to their meeting again, but again, we're kind of all in agreement to the two spaces, just not sure how we want to see that done at this point.
Right, I mean, my concern is only that if we approve it, we don't have a lot of control after that of what it's
Right.
gonna be.
Well, I think they're agreeing in public hearing today to work with us on that, so.
Right, so today we're just mainly focusing on the liquor license,
Right.
and then we can work with Mike and Susan on how
How it's
How
done.
it's
to go.
gonna be
Yeah,
done.
okay.
That seems fair.
I went out and walked the site a couple times, and it looks like there's a space there that's kind of a non-parking space before the first space, directly in front of the building. So I think, depending upon where you decide to put flower pots or where the eventual curb would go in, you might end up with more space than you think with just one parking space. And I think we do have fees in lieu for removing parking spaces that we've used before when, or at least they're there for redevelopment and for infill development. So I think it may warrant some more discussion in terms of the timeline for either us to build the curb bump out there, or for y'all to build it, or for us to accept a fee in lieu for the parking spaces, or
The fee in lieu is not really for removing parking spaces. That's for redevelopment that comes in and can't meet the parking regulations. And there's certain
Right.
cases where we could accept a fee in lieu, but that's not for this type of application. And I just go back to, we adopted the plan. It was very clearly spelled out in the plan that this is the type of thing that we wanted to encourage in the downtown. We're getting ready to start redoing the landscaping and adding seating areas and trying to implement the plan further. So I would just say that, you know, it is what we have been promoting and trying to do.
I think Hayden, you bring up an interesting question, is there normally a fee? Would we have charged them?
No,
So you-
because they were an existing retail business, already
Mhm.
doing business, and they did not have any parking spaces. Just like PNC did have parking fees in lieu because it was a change from a bank to eventually retail. But this was a retail business already.
Okay.
So it just, there is a parking fee in lieu ordinance that we have applied in the past, but it's not, it wouldn't have applied to this building. They already had EDUs, they already had an operating retail business.
So we're just giving them parking spaces, basically.
Well, we are proposing implementing what we adopted as the downtown
And
plan.
the downtown
as
plan, which
outdoor
included
seating
that.
areas and making the square more pedestrian, more usable every day, not just for events, which is, you know, like I said, that particular space was actually spelled out on the downtown plan.
I forget that you guys actually removed a couple of units. Like you went from 7 to 5, is that correct?
8.
8 to 5?
Yeah.
So that's, I guess that's,
Pretty much.
yeah, that's really 6, based on the ordinance, that's really 6 parking spaces that are no longer needed by the building that's there, so.
Right.
And going back, we've implemented the residential parking in behind the town hall. They have the stickers. Eventually, it's gonna need to be enforced a little bit harder, because when you have residents parking right on the square, it takes up parking spaces for the commercial, but we implemented that plan to keep those residents, make sure that they have a space that's available to them, which we do have a row in the back of the town hall that for residential parking only, and we implemented that program to try to alleviate some of the issues with parking.
Are there I forget if there's
Yes.
time restrictions.
5 to, I think it's 7 a.m.
Did y'all see the pictures I sent you this morning?
Yeah, and I had a question about that, because, right now we don't have a hotel that's
Well,
being used.
right, hotel, not, but.
How would the hotel, having guests spend the night, and how many cars is that gonna require? How many parking spaces will the hotel require?
Well, they have a number of spaces behind their building, and then
There's-
for overflow
There's two
parking.
rows that are behind their building or on their property. Yeah,
their
that's
parking.
their parking.
And then
Is that enough?
we
I don't know
had-
how many is enough. I don't know how many rooms are in the hotel.
No, they were a few spaces short, and
Yep.
what we came to an agreement that during the day, their spaces could be used for public parking, and then at night, because we have so many free parking spaces across from them, that they could use those in the evening.
Yeah, I would say that the parking lot that's in front of Go to Earth, that I hardly ever see that
There's
utilized.
one car down there.
You know, those pictures were taken at 6:30 Friday evening, and there was virtually no one in those two parking spaces, or two parking lots.
Oh, you mean the lot across the street?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's always empty.
Of course, the hotel's empty. The hotel was
Well, I mean, even
full.
when the hotel was active, it never got used. Parking lot has never really gotten used, other than at events.
That's the one we added later, after the hotel was
Right.
open.
All right, anyone
So-
care to make a motion?
I move to approve the liquor license letter of support, the Class B license for Sweet Bay Restaurant and Bar, located at 22680 Washington Street. And I would also, as part of that, move to support an extension of premises for outdoor seating on the sidewalk, and the two parking spaces that you requested.
I'll second.
Motion and second, any further discussion?
I would just like to see it be a little more permanent than it just being flower pots or
Yeah, definitely. I'm concerned about safety
something,
issues.
just so it looks like it's not, wasn't an afterthought.
That was told me to do,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Yep.
But right now, I don't think we can commit to doing it.
Well, and she's not necessarily saying build the exact kind of sidewalk out that far, but some kind of a more permanent, you know,
Like, in front of the Duke.
Well, I mean, that would be
That's what-
great, but I mean, something more permanent, like it could even be, I think Man Rike
Talk
even
about a
did like
platform that would make
decking
it even like a
or
wood platform or something.
something like that.
And I think actually, I mean, from what the conversation I've had with Tammy at the liquor board is they're probably gonna require something like that as well, so.
be the same level as the sidewalk.
They weren't really all that in favor of the flower pots, whether that's within their jurisdiction or not. It may be a requirement, but that was something that was in the Mayhem Reichel plan, was more of a wood platform that would make it on the same level as the curb.
It seems like there'd be better accessibility too for ADA if it's the same, you know, then I can see that being a concern. You don't wanna do a whole big concrete one, pour all that for us?
You're making this concrete to happen.
I think just an extension of the sidewalk at some point is probably something we can
I mean, if
discuss
the
offline.
restaurant's successful, I'm sure we'll do it because it would be part of the restaurant.
I mean, I'm just happy as long as it doesn't look like parking spaces. I don't want someone to try to pull in there if there's a pot there and, you know, knock the pot over. We have enough trouble with crazy people, so if you have a nice raised decking that looks like part of it, I think that would be reasonable.
And I'll just say, Micheline's not here today, it's just Mike and Susan.
Right.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I definitely appreciate your interest in the downtown and your investment, so,
Ellen is also looking at it.
so thank you, definitely looking forward to that one.
Any further discussion?
So can we modify it a bit to just, it be, because this isn't really saying how they're gonna do the.
Are you satisfied with the temporary platform, like a?
Yeah.
Sure.
So we could just add, that they would, have a temporary platform in place that would make it all one level.
Gotcha.
I'm not
Okay.
satisfied with that. I think that if they're gonna do it temporarily, there should be a temporary border, and if we're not gonna do it temporarily, then we should go ahead and extend the sidewalk like it looks at the other end of the street.
Well, the wood could be temporary, that could be taken up.
Right now, with this motion, all they want to do is put flower pots out. We're just trying to make sure that we get a little more
That
permanency, I guess, out
that
of it.
the platform would be the same level as the
Mhm.
sidewalk.
Right.
Just add that verbiage. that
Why don't we
the-
just go ahead with the extension of the sidewalk?
Because they're just investing a lot right now to get the restaurant open, and then eventually that would be the goal. and I think it even spells that out in the Mahan-Reichel, to try it in on a temporary basis in different areas until you see how it works, and then it could always be added as a permanent structure later down the road.
I mean, if you sit there in the evening, that building gets all the sun. It's not like, it may not even work because of the heat, especially during the summer. So if it doesn't, make the restaurant more profitable, we probably would take it.
I think I have concerns too with what we're doing, the precedent we're setting for the rest of the town. You know, if we, I guess that may be where some of us is coming from too, with a little more permanent structure, because what's to prevent now somebody else down the street from just putting out a couple flower pots and blocking a,
Well,
you know.
but they're agreeing to that.
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
Okay.
I'm okay with that, that's what I agree with that.
Okay, so the verbiage would include a platform that's at the same height of the sidewalk.
And again, this would be a temporary structure.
Temporary.
Right, okay.
Right. Right. Anything else?
I'm happy with that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go back to the public hearing now.
Okay, this public hearing is for ordinance number 193, which was introduced at last month's meeting. It's just a text amendment to commercial business, commercial marine, and commercial highway zoning categories to add breweries, wineries, and distilleries as an allowed use. We do currently have in commercial business and commercial highway, commercial business and commercial marine, we already have microbreweries. We were doing that several years ago just to try to be proactive if we were able to get a brewery of some sort to come into town, or a brew pub, that we would have it. But we've come to find out that microbreweries is really limiting onto the amount of beer that they can make. And it is really, we've had a lot of interest in different breweries coming into town. So we would like to be proactive. It's all about economic development and being able to open something like that in the commercial areas. So that's why we're proposing this text amendment.
Okay. And
Have we had any interest in
We have.
microbreweries?
Yeah, in breweries,
In breweries, not
Yeah.
microbreweries?
Yeah.
correct.
did I see Wayne Davis come in? Did he?
You need to open the public hearing.
Oh, well, okay, that's right. I need a motion to close the regular meeting and open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll offer, or, take any public comments on this. Did I see Wayne here? Okay, Wayne, I know you had asked about this. You want to add to that?
Right, with our project, the shops out there, we've had a number of inquiries from beer breweries and also distillery, and the square footages, that they are looking at are a lot larger than anything that kind of fits in town proper. And I didn't realize at the time, as far as the zoning, the property didn't allow for that particular use, so that's part of the inquiry that I made to see if we could get that included in there, to give us some legal leeway to pursue that, on the property out there, expanding the property. Since we did the other buildings out there, we've had a number of inquiries from a lot of, different vendors, uses and things that, the square footage, so we're pushing ahead full bore on the redesign of Penny's property out there, to get that going, and hopefully in the next 6 months have that, approved and state highway happy, if that's possible.
Good luck there.
Incidentally, I know everybody always asks when Penny's building's coming down, but you can thank the state highway for blindsiding us about $48,000 after the permit was issued for additional work. And so, anyway, that's that.
Well, we can appreciate that, but we would appreciate the movement of that building at your earliest convenience.
Wouldn't take much, I don't think.
Any other public comments on this particular issue?
No, Jerry
Oh,
LaRue.
Jerry?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, there she is.
I'm here. I fully support it, of course. I think more of these establishments that we have in Leonardtown will bring in more visitors, and they'll have a choice of several different places that they can go to, one after the other. Of course, respecting the wishes of the community around it, and run properly. I do believe that it could be a real success.
Just for everyone's information, Jerry is Jerry LaRue from Shepherd's Old Field Market. Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Mary. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay.
The next item is actually taking action on this ordinance that we just held the public hearing for. So as I said, this ordinance was introduced at the July 8th meeting, and the Planning Commission did hear the case at their July meeting and forwarded a unanimous favorable recommendation to the Town Council. And then we held the public hearing today, which paves the way for you all to actually take action on Ordinance 193.
Were there any, did we receive any written comments, or
No.
did the planning and zoning board receive any comments?
No, they just, they sent a favorable recommendation. It was advertised in the County Times for the public hearing today.
Gotcha. Thanks.
And again, the only one that, if I'm understanding correctly, the only one we're adding is commercial highway, right? We did not have that one, is that correct?
That one did not
Did not.
have
It-
microbreweries.
Okay,
The other two had microbreweries, but not breweries and distilleries and wineries.
okay. All right, I move to approve ordinance number 193, adding breweries, wineries, and distilleries as allowed uses in commercial business, commercial highway, and commercial marine zoning districts.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item is the EDU request for a Dollar General at Cedar Lane and Point Lookout Road. We had received word of a Dollar General being proposed on the site of the corner of Cedar Lane Road and Point Lookout Road. Because ordinance 132 is in place, it is required that the council approve any new projects requiring EDUs from our remaining limited capacity at our wastewater treatment plant until we go through the expansion. And so prior to this project moving to the planning and zoning process, you all need to approve EDUs, and the ordinance 132 spells out specific reasons. We adopted this ordinance in 2008 because we knew that we had limited capacity until we expanded, and so we have a certain focus, which has been the downtown redevelopment and revitalization, and so there are 5 categories that allow for projects moving forward and getting EDU capacity. This parcel is a parcel left over from the Academy Hills PUD, so it is a PUD zoning. If it does continue through that process, there are public hearings, and it does come back to you after a recommendation from planning and zoning.
Okay. I've got a few words I'd like to start with. Again, today's discussion is simply on whether we grant EDUs to this project. Since we have limited capacity with our water and sewer systems until we expand, and the council in 2008 enacted Ordinance 132, which states any allocation of water and sewer capacity has to be approved by the town. There are several categories that are allowable by the town. The only one that this project could fall into is C, infill development in accordance to Town Code 155-.34. which is our PERD or Planned Infill and Redevelopment designation. It must be in the downtown area or complement downtown area, an area not draw business away from downtown. The PERD intends to encourage compact development that is pedestrian scaled and implement the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. The plan talks about smart growth and projects that are walkable. Another objective is to protect the historic elements and economic vitality of the town by linking the town center, downtown, to surrounding areas with an efficient system of roads, pedestrian walkways, community open space, and public utilities. This project does not meet any of those goals. Therefore, I'm recommending to the council that we deny this allocation. And we have asked council, our attorney, if we are in accordance with the ordinance, and he indicated that we are, as long as we state why it does not meet our goals. Any comments? And we do have a member here. Would you like?
Yeah.
Yes. You can.
Okay, thank you. My name is Jeff Harmon. I'm with Becker Morgan Group. We are the civil engineering firm working with Pentex Ventures to develop this property. A little surprised by your statement there. We hadn't heard that you had any issues with that before, any indication when we were talking with the town. I think this development does fall underneath of your category C in that it is infill development. This parcel was part of the original PUD, was left as a commercial property to serve the community. And that's what Dollar General does. Dollar General is not a Walmart. Dollar General is not a big box retail. It is intended to serve the local community. They site their stores so that they can serve the immediate surrounding area. And so it's intended to be a quick stop for someone so that they don't have to drive all the way down the highway to the Walmart. They don't have to go a long distance to get basic things that they need. You've got basic groceries, you've got basic sundries, and a lot of things that are convenient and priced such that it's affordable for those people in that community. Our original request had requested 400 gallons per day, which I think 250 gallons per day is 1 EDU for you guys. Hearing that you do have limited capacity, we can actually work with much less than that. I have a study with me if anybody cares to see it, but based on water bills from other similar stores of an exact same footprint as this store in the same type of community, we see that it really only uses around 100 gallons a day. And even if you took a peak factor, we'd be maybe at 200 gallons a day. So our initial request of 400, if you need to reserve capacity for other parts of the town, we have no problem with reducing that down to a single EDU at 250 gallons a day, which would be more than enough capacity that they would need for that. We have already met with the State Highway Department. We've already been concerned about what this site layout's going to look like, how it fits into the community. We're across from the entrance to Cedar Court, so we're aligning our intersection with adjacent intersections so that things like pedestrian connectivity, biking connectivity, all of that makes good, safe traffic sense. And so, we're siting the building further away from the adjacent subdivision. As you probably all know, it's a wooded parcel. We have purposefully tried to site the building and set the building at an elevation that would minimize tree clearing on the site so that we could leave buffers to the adjacent subdivision so that this doesn't impact their quality of life as far as having a commercial use there, but it does give them the convenience of being able to get to that store should they want to get there. We think that this does fit in with the town. This is a good use for the town. And hopefully you guys would be willing to consider allocating that 1 EDU that's necessary for us to move forward.
It's based on square footage, and so 2 is what would be required.
Okay.
So we have a chart that we go by.
I know in some municipalities that we have an agreement that if the store gets open, and after 12 months or 24 months, whatever the town thinks is appropriate, that you see that those water bills just aren't hitting that 2 EDU mark, then, reducing that EDU allocation so that it could be allocated for some other use in the town would be fine with them. So I think you'll see that this won't use very much water, won't be a large impact on the city's resources that you need for reserving those precious EDUs that you've got for other places. So we think it's an appropriate use. We think it's a benefit to the town, and we're hopeful that you guys will consider that. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, again, we're concerned, I mean, yes, you're trying to say you're pedestrian friendly, but the only pedestrians close enough to walk to you are at Cedar Lane apartments, senior living facility, and I don't want to see them walking across that street, even Cedar Lane Road.
And certainly, we still haven't got to the point of the traffic study that we need to get through your concept process first. As I understand it, we need concept planning commission approval, we need concept council approval. That's when we start looking at traffic issues. If there's things needed at that intersection to improve that, crosswalks, signage, those sorts of things, Pentex is happy to provide those sorts of things to enhance that. And again, this is a community draw, so this isn't a destination. This isn't somebody coming from clear across St. Mary's County, someplace else to come just to this location. We see the people that live in this area that as they're driving by on their way home from work, they stop in and get something that they need. So those are called pass-by trips. So we don't see a large increase in traffic. This is serving whatever mode of transportation somebody's using to get there, whether it be, they normally walk, they normally bike, or whether it's they're in their car. We can accommodate all of those things. And this was certainly anticipated when the PUD was done to be a commercial parcel, to be a neighborhood type of business, and we're just sort of fulfilling what the original intent was for that PUD.
Comments from the council?
You're Jeff, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for being here today. So, as we mentioned, we do have a limited amount, sewer capacity, so that is a major concern I have. Our focus is on, revitalizing our downtown, and putting that there, I really don't see how that's gonna help our downtown walkable. I mean, there's no sidewalks on Route 5, and I understand a traffic study would have to be done, but traffic is already pretty much a nightmare on Route 5. We have the other subdivisions there, the Hamptons, Academy Hills. So I don't see how that would benefit our downtown and what we're trying to do with revitalizing. So I cannot support that.
How many EDUs do we have left at the plant? About?
Approximately 180, but the expansion is probably 4 to 5 years out.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question.
Okay.
What do we have in queue right now?
Lots.
Yeah.
You have the Hamptons, Meadows,
Clark's Rest.
Is the
as
jail
far
in
as
that
what's
too?
being in the jail.
So is the 180 what's not allocated, or is there some that are, say earmarked? I don't know. Are
Yeah, they're in the queue is what he's talking about.
Gotcha,
Yes.
okay.
So does that mean the 180 is left over after what's in the queue?
Right.
Any approved projects, the 180 is over and above the approved projects.
So those you just named already have their allocations?
Right.
Meadows doesn't have all
Meadows,
their allocations.
yeah, right.
No.
They
Yeah,
receiving that building permit per
No,
phase?
it is phase 1 is 60.
60.
Okay.
They have phase 2 to submit,
And how many is that?
47.
So that would have to come out of the 180?
Mhm.
So we're down to 137, something like that.
And again, knowing that that's a concern for you on being able to prioritize that downtown area, I know the code has a calculation. If there's variance necessary to the code in order to allow you to make a decision on that, we're happy to go through that process. If Board of Zoning Appeals needs to say that, we'll grant you a different process to calculate this, we can provide the report that shows all those flow calculations. As I said, it's probably about 100 gallons a day on average is all we need, which is less than half of an EDU. Peak flow might get to 3/4 of an EDU. So this is not using that much water. It's not generating that much sewer flow. There's 2 single stall bathrooms, there's a mop sink, and then there's a sink in the break room. There's usually 4 or 5 employees at the store. And the types of people, or I shouldn't say types of people, but the types of shopping that are done by people here is a quick in and out. You don't see a long Walmart shopping trip. It's not like a sit-down restaurant where someone's in the store for an hour and is more likely to need the restroom while they're there. A lot of times, Dollar General customers are in and out 10 minutes. It's a quick stop, it's on their way. So that's one reason why it doesn't generate that much usage and flow. It's pretty much just the employees that are there with an occasional customer needing to use the restroom while they're there. So we're happy to do a process if you need to do that to reduce the EDU allocation, if that is something that makes you more comfortable. I think the town will benefit from it, additional tax base, additional business, additional services for the residents that I think will be something valuable to them and they'll see value in that. But, obviously we hear your concern about what you've got left until you're able to do your expansion. And, by the time we get through the approvals process with this, I assume that take maybe a year, and then it'll probably take another 4 to 6 months to construct after that. So, we're looking at getting closer down the road closer to your expansion before we actually will see any kind of usage on it as well too. So that hopefully makes you a little bit more comfortable if you decide that you could allocate.
Well, we do have another store, Dollar General, what, a mile and a half away, plus a Family Dollar, which I understand Dollar General bought out a year or so ago in the shopping center. So I don't see this community supporting $3 stores. If you all go in, then it means one of the others.
Well, they wouldn't have spent their time and money without knowing that this will be successful. I know that question gets asked a lot at a lot of hearings that we go to. We already have a Dollar General in our town, and
but we've got two.
Or two, yeah. And so it's surprising, how much can be supported by that. This really is a store of convenience. And yeah, you might have some in other locations, but there may be people that aren't using that store because it's not convenient to where they're at. So they have done their homework, they have done their market studies to determine, is Leonardtown the right place for us to construct this store? And the answer is always yes. These guys have been doing this a lot. I can't even tell you how many that the developer we're working with has done. It's dozens of them. And they've always been successful stores that they've done. They won't do them if they're not done their homework on that.
Well, again, I think the main point is it doesn't meet our comprehensive plan, the way it's laid out, and just think it's not going to be good economic development for the town.
I have a question. I mean, we already have two Dollar Generals in the vicinity. We had a request for a third that was supposed to go in front of the Clark's Rest subdivision. So that one was turned down, and now you're over here. If we turn you down here, is Dollar General going to continue to look somewhere in the downtown Leonardtown area?
I don't know the answer to that.
So I've gone through, I'm all for property rights of, you own this lot, or Dodge or whoever owns it, they have certain rights that they're granted by owning those lots, by our zoning, by our code. I went through everything, and we're kind of bound by this ordinance 132. And this is what it says. It says town shall not review plans or approve any building permits for new construction unless they meet these 5 criteria. And the only one, in my opinion, that you guys meet, which you stated, and I agree with you, is the infill. And then it says you must be in accordance with Town Code 15534.1. So you go to that section, and it refers to the PERD and infill district. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think this is in the PERD.
It is not,
So that's kind of where I'm stuck. It's.
And I can understand
so
that.
here is this parcel here, and here's the downtown, and that's where the planned, there is a little bit on Route 5 that is included in the PERD. And it's really was about economic development and protecting the downtown businesses and have the properties that are walkable to the downtown and not gonna take away from the downtown businesses.
Right.
And I understand you trying to protect your allocation. What I guess I don't understand is how can you deny somebody the right to develop a legal parcel that's in the county? You're saying you can't build a house there.
Well, that's what that's what I'm saying is per this ordinance, that's what it shall not.
One EDU is not not asking for anything unreasonable. If we came in saying we needed 10 EDUs, I completely understand what you're doing, because you're trying to reserve your capacity for your downtown. You're saying that is too big of a development, it's too far out from where we want to see development. But what you're saying is no one can develop this property for anything. You're taking away the person's right to build anything on this property. And I don't understand that. I see where the calculation's coming from. We don't need more than one EDU. We can suffice with one EDU. And I think that it is reasonable to request a single EDU for our site. It is sufficient for our flow, and it allows us to develop that property. Otherwise, whether it's Dollar General, whether it's a roadside market, nothing can be built there if you don't allocate at least one EDU.
Laschelle, is our next EDU request, is that in the PERD?
It is not right in the PERD, but there's also reasons, like I said, for economic development, and that is in, next to the PERD, it's walkable, it's at a major intersection, and it is also, developing, a parcel that is very much of an eyesore at the entrance to the downtown. It's a redevelopment, it's not a new development.
And that one falls within this map. This one, unfortunately, I mean, I looked, it doesn't fall on this map, it's not in the PERD. This is the attachment to that ordinance.
The other one is not, it's adjacent to it. It's at the intersection.
This is not right here.
And so the other one's not in either of the maps?
I thought it was right here.
What is this map?
Well, let's talk about this one now, not the next one.
It's not a requirement that it has to be on the map, but if that's the criteria you're trying to meet, is that it's an infill project, then that is a different story. It's not a redevelopment project that has economic development benefits.
I think I'm just having kind of an ethical dilemma, because I feel like the two are similar enough. I feel like if I approve one, I have to approve the other.
If you look at this map and you see that this parcel is way out here, it's not even close to being walkable to the downtown.
Well, I walked it yesterday, and I mean, I'm not saying, I don't want the Dollar General either, but I feel like I have an ethical issue, because they're both within the same walking distance. But if one was on the map and one wasn't, that would be easy, but it doesn't seem like that's exactly the case.
Well, like I said, there's 5 reasons. It's not just if it's in the PERD, that's not the only criteria.
Right.
If it's a redevelopment that has an economic development benefit to the town, and it's a gateway to our town, and it is tearing down a blighted property and redeveloping property. So there's different reasons. It's not just that it has to be on the map.
Right. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, that one is redevelopment, this one is infill.
I reviewed the ordinance and the code that it refers to, because I agree that if it meets any of these exceptions for the restriction on capacity, it would be the infill development. The problem I'm seeing is that the code section that it refers to mainly talks about redevelopment. And so this ordinance that was written says that it would be restricted to infill development as one of the allowable uses of the capacity. But the code that it refers to talks about redevelopment. So I see that as a little bit of
So
a...
the PERD is infill and redevelopment.
Yeah.
Planned infill and redevelopment.
But the ordinance says infill development, so basically undeveloped parcels is what it's referring to. But then the code discusses only redevelopment. It doesn't discuss development of undeveloped parcels.
It's in a limited area, and it was meant to improve the downtown and redevelop and infill lots in the downtown to try and bring the town for the downtown, keep it vital. But it is an infill and redevelopment district in the downtown. And it's not saying saying that the parcel cannot be developed, it's saying that at this time, it's not a priority to the town to use capacity for this particular project. I mean, it's not saying that that parcel can never be developed.
So if they are denied today, they do get put on a queue for if some become available.
Correct. Well,
Once we do the expansion.
Right.
Then this ordinance goes away once we have, more
Capacity.
use available.
And then if anybody could go in really at that time too, right?
Well, if they meet the zoning, and I mean,
Right.
it is a PUD, so it needs to be compatible with the neighborhood, and there are public hearings, so what the neighborhood wants does come into play with it. It's not just any use could come in, they still have to meet the zoning.
Is there a reason that this never developed?
There was previously a doctor's office that was approved on it, and that did not proceed because of financial reasons for the specific person, but that was the only project that I'm aware of in 20 years that has come forward to develop that parcel. I believe the Advanced Life Services owns it now, and they were talking about building a property or a building there, but that never, they went somewhere else, I believe.
This parcel was always intended to be developed. The sewer stub is right at the end of the street in the adjacent subdivision. Public water actually on the parcel, public water on the process of parcel now. It's there, it's ready to be developed.
And we're not denying that it won't be developed. It's just, we're saving these allocations for other developments. So once we do the expansion, then this will be able to be developed.
We're talking one EDU, we're not talking a large request.
Yeah. Well, requires two, but anyway.
All we need is one. I understand the point, but
Right, and I'm not just gonna, it does say for new construction, which would result in any new connections. Kind of stuck by that.
I think it meets the definition of infill basically because it's not a new subdivision, it's an existing parcel and most of everything around it's developed, with the exception of the farm to the rear of it. I also think you have the right to develop your property, based on the fact that we have 133 units left and you're asking for 2. I think if it was a subdivision or a new parcel or a new development, that would not meet the definition of infill because it's an existing parcel that has the correct zoning for what you're asking to do and there's already water and sewer at the parcel. I think you have the right to develop the property.
Well, and just because, even if we pass the EDUs, that doesn't mean you've got a whole lot of wickets still to go through, right? I mean, planning and zoning, and there's still a lot of places that could turn it down.
we still have a process. We have to get concept approval, we've got to get state highway approval. So there's a lot to go through still, yes. We'd like to be able to have the opportunity to move forward and do that.
And I'll clarify what I said. I believe that you have the opportunity to develop, to request developing the property. There's a lot of steps left to go through.
Right.
I don't think we need to stand in the way of 2 EDUs.
And our expansion is what, 4 to 5 years out?
Yes.
Right.
So my concern is a lot can happen in the downtown between 4 and 5 years.
Yep.
That'd be my concern.
How many downtown parcels do you have that need to be developed?
We've got 400 acres, 2 blocks from downtown.
Is that all within the PIRD area?
Yep. Right next to it, yes.
That would be my biggest concern.
Yep. Any further discussion?
I make a motion to allow the applicant to move forward with their request for development to the planning commission, with us granting the 2 EDUs that are required by the square footage calculation.
We do not have a second, so we'll move on.
Okay, I move to deny the EDU request for Dollar General at the intersection of Cedar Lane Court and Point Lookout Road in Leonardtown.
I don't think that's necessary. There wasn't a second for my motion.
That's what I said, we didn't get a second. So we'll move on. Right. So he just made a new motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? In favor of not allowing the process to go through?
Aye.
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 No.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so motion carries 3-2. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is also an EDU request. This is for a redevelopment of the Saunders Corner. They need 1 additional EDU. This project is for an indoor showroom for collector cars. And it's a kind of a consignment for collectible cars. People can, but there are no outdoor sales whatsoever. Everything is housed indoors. And if someone is interested in the car, they make an appointment and come and look at it. And the people that are building the property are housing some of their own cars inside in this showroom. And the building is proposed to look like the building at the where Salt Cycle is down in Great Mills, the same style of building, which right now we have a falling down house and a grown-up lot. It is not in the PERD, however, it is directly across the street. It is at a major intersection that is signalized for crossing, and it is right adjacent to the downtown. So for that reason, it could meet economic development if that is your decision. Butch Bailey is the engineer. He was going to try to make it in case you had any questions, but I can try to answer any questions that you have.
Any comments? I will just say that I think this actually would meet D also. What's that?
I had the wrong corner on this map.
Okay.
I got turned around and it was, yeah.
Again, I think this project would meet D, which projects deemed by the town council upon a majority vote with the concurrence of the mayor as necessary to protect the health, welfare, safety, or future economic viability of the town. And we've got a vacant building there that's certainly could be hazardous, and it's certainly increasing the economic viability of the town.
And again, this one, as we said, is walkable to the downtown.
Correct, it's at a major intersection with pedestrian crossing. It is at the gateway to the downtown and adjacent to the PERD.
And this lot has one
Yes.
EDU already?
Two. the ordinance is, for any new development or any existing that, requires additional heating.
Right. And there's no way that they could stay under that one?
If you don't count the square footage of the showroom, I mean, if you really, because office, would have more people there, they're not really even gonna be open, it's gonna be by appointment during the week, and then they'll be open one day on the weekend if somebody just wants to stop in. However, I'm just going off of the square footage
The
for
use.
an office is what we allocated to EDU.
And that's on the whole building?
Yes.
How much over the one were they? Is it like right on the edge? Do you know if it's
Let me see if I have the calculations. for you.
Oh, is it .03?
Yes.
Office.
Yes, and it was, so they're just over, they're at 273 gallons per day.
Based on the square footage, not the usage.
Based on the square footage.
Right. So to stay under one, they need to make the building a little smaller.
So if they're not using that, both EDUs, could we take one back after, say, a year?
Not typically. What we have done in the past is if they're right on the edge of needing one, we do put on all of our occupancy permits that, we have the right to monitor and add, they
Right.
could be required to add additional EDU if their usage is more than what they, were allocated.
So, I understand they're different, but didn't we just have a previous vote when they asked to go down to one and we said no, sticking with two, and we didn't want to give up
Yeah, I
that
was
other
gonna say.
EDU?
Right,
I
I mean,
don't,
that's why I'm quoting two,
Oh,
yeah,
because
yeah.
I feel like that is
Okay.
what the regulation says, is based on the square footage. And if they decided to use the building as additional office space, they would need additional EDUs. This is just because of how they're gonna be using it right now, but the ordinance would require two.
Right. So, yeah, we're not asking to go down to one.
Okay, I just checked my math. At 5,250 for the showroom and then 1,750 for the office/retail, I'm only coming up with 210 gallons per day. Is that
What, did you use .03?
.03?
For both?
Right. Is office retail, is that being calculated separately?
No, I calculated the 9,100 square feet. Did you come up with 9,100 square feet? I mean, that's what the building is.
No, well, this plan that I have is
Or,
7,000.
I'm sorry, that's the other one. Let me see if I can find where I calculated that one. Okay, yeah, so it's, office, retail is at .08,
Okay.
1,750, square feet at .08.
Gotcha, that's what it
And
is.
then the warehouse was at .03. So that put them at 367, it looks like, if I could read my own writing. 367. So it's like 1.63.
Mhm.
so is that two entrances, one on Hollywood and then one exiting onto 5?
One is a right turn only.
Okay, just make sure.
Right turn only on Route 5.
But once again, this has to go through the planning and zoning process, and all of those items will be addressed.
Okay.
And they would have to have, they have state highway on two sides, so they actually have to set back 50 feet on each, of Hollywood Road is a state highway, and Route 5 is a state highway. And they're gonna have to meet whatever state highway requires them to do as well. It has not gone through that process yet.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're losing 50 feet on both both sides.
Is there any, I guess, has there been any discussion, or is there any way that we could discuss with State Highway? We haven't had a lot of development along that road recently. I mean, most of those houses are historic homes that are used as other businesses or are actually still residences. And I know that our design plans, our downtown plan, our architecture plans all call for buildings to be put to the front of the parcel and parking to be put behind the building and for landscaping and access to the sidewalks and things like that. Is there any way that there could be?
Well, this is part of the widening, so we already know that 50 feet is gonna be taken on each side, so, and just like Community Bank was required to be set back further than what they had proposed, because the widening project is already designed from Birchmart all the way to Newtown Neck Road, so they're not
I
gonna
meant
give.
along what used to be Jefferson Street.
Route 5.
No, along 245.
That's also in the widening because they have to reconfigure that entire intersection, so this parcel is affected. There was previously an office building that was, had discussed going there, but they couldn't get the parking for an office building because, a larger office building, for the use that they wanted because of those restrictions on both sides of the property. But even Hollywood Road, that whole intersection gets reconfigured as part of the widening project.
I see Butch Bailey just walked in.
Oh.
Butch, why don't you come on up? Butch is the engineer on this project, so. You can have a seat, have a seat.
I don't know that, I mean, we're, in case there's any questions.
Yeah,
that I
just,
could answer.
right.
I mean, just kind of based, and I will apologize at first, because I know I thought I had my intersection, I was backwards on here. So I was thinking they were within this,
Purge.
whatever it's called.
Purge.
No, well, this isn't the PERD, this is the exhibit.
It's from the PERD.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
oh, okay, gotcha,
And the map is the same as the PERD.
gotcha. I was thinking they were within there. I mean, based on what we just told Dollar General,
But this, again, this is redevelopment, not infill.
that's the only thing that's different, but the
And-
only thing that this does still apply to, it says, new development, which was the Dollar General, and this is, or additional. So this would be the additional, if they could keep it under one EDU, this wouldn't even apply and we wouldn't even be here. I mean, that's my only
Well, again, I think it comes
contention, if we're
under,
applying the,
comes under D also. Projects deemed to be, by the town council upon a majority vote and with the concurrence of the mayor, as necessary to protect the health, welfare, and safety, this being a vacant building and ready to fall down, I think they could come under that. Plus, it's, or for future safety future economic viability of the town. And
Which
that's,
once again, this is at a major intersection at the entrance to the downtown. I feel like if you look at the map, it's pretty different than what we were just talking about.
yeah, I just going through what we went through before, I can't, unless they can get it under one, I don't know if I can say that this is different. It is closer, it's walkable. Like I said, I thought it was within that, and I just mislooked at my map. That's just my opinion.
but again, that, we were going by C, infill.
Sure, and I agree with you.
It doesn't have to be on the map.
Right.
Some of the other parcels that we've approved, I sent a list around earlier today, Greenbrier Road, Eldon Lane. But because the council at the time believed that they met one of the criteria, it doesn't have to be in downtown.
Right.
But when it's a commercial property, the proximity does matter for economic development.
I believe we just set a precedent for not really allowing any additional EDUs outside of what's on the map. I agree that it,
Doesn't have to be on the map.
it could meet the test of health, safety, welfare because of the
The map only
condition.
applies to letter C.
Because of the condition of the building, like you said, letter D there, I
Right.
could see it meeting that, but if I understood the discussion a few minutes ago, we didn't want to allow additional EDUs because of it not being in the downtown area and not being on the map of what the allocations were really reserved for. And even though this one's just across the street, I would say it's not really in the area that the EDUs are reserved for.
I would say that what you're looking at protecting the downtown businesses and what the dollar store does versus what this is taking away from your downtown businesses. Whereas you have a building that's falling down at the entrance to your downtown, and that's exactly what D is about, is protecting the viability of the downtown. I don't think one is mutually exclusive of the other.
I mean, you know, even, that's public project.
I don't,
It doesn't have to be downtown, and we've already done it for other people not in the downtown area, so there's precedence there.
I voted yes on the last one, so I could vote yes on this one, so I felt like I was ethical and across the board, so I'm comfortable.
I think they're two separate projects, and you have to look at the benefit to each one separately. I don't think that, that's why there's multiple reasons why you can approve it, on that ordinance. So you have to look at it as a whole.
Right. I mean, I think it fits D.
Which doesn't have anything to do with the map.
Right. See, C refers to this. This does not refer to that. Any further discussion? Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. I move to approve one additional EDU for the Old Town Auto located at 22915 Hollywood Road as an infill project for Ordinance 132, Section 2C. Ooh, I think we should make that Section 2D.
You said one EDU?
They already have
Additional.
one.
Oh, one addition, okay, all right.
That's what it says.
So we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Aye. Nay.
Nay,
Sorry.
nay carries three nays. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just to back up why, I think what we did on Dollar General, if we can keep it under one, this doesn't kill this project, it's so
Yeah.
close. I mean, it's a couple square feet.
Where were you looking?
What's a couple?
I mean, we could sit down and do the math, I don't think it's much. It's only 0.18 over one EDU.
Well, that's when I have to check with my client if it's viable. I mean, I need a square footage, you know, I need to know what will work. I mean, he has a certain amount he has to have.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
We can look at it tomorrow.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
See what kind
work
of-
with
what kind
Michelle
of
on that.
footage.
I see what the number is.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't think it's a problem for this particular use, but if it was used for a full office,
That'd be about
we can look at it.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know if some of it would even qualify as warehouse for the storage. I don't
I'll
know.
look at how the chart is written and.
Okay.
Is that the only issue,
Yep.
It
In
could
my
go-
opinion.
It could go through the process for zoning if it didn't need a second EDU.
Yeah, you don't need this if it's only one EDU.
I just need to know what number you're looking for. Of course, I have to clear it.
Yeah, it has to
Sure.
be one EDU, I mean, correct?
Yeah.
If you
Right,
can
'cause
keep
you
it
have
within
one.
that one.
One extra.
No, just
No,
one.
just one.
You have one now.
I get it down to one.
Right, and
Right.
you're really close. It's really close.
Well, yeah. Really close, close enough as to the same.
Yeah.
That happens. All right. Yeah, if you could let me know what that number is.
Yeah, Laschelle will work with you on that.
Work with that.
Yep.
So that I need to then come back here. Or maybe it's-
No, it would.
No,
go through
actually,
the
if you get the
planning
one,
process. You already
You don't
have
need to
one.
come back here.
All right.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to my report. It's a great weekend last weekend with the zip trip and the first responders First Friday and the beach party. I think it's probably the biggest crowd we've had for the beach party ever. Just glad, I know everyone's glad the weekend's over. But just wanted to mention that Discover U was down at the wharf yesterday. They had a nice crowd, or Saturday, I guess it was. Nice crowd, and they actually had the buy boats in giving boat rides to kids. And then, of course, the seaplane rides down there, that's getting a lot of excitement down there for that, so a lot of things going on in town. Tyler, events. Speaking of other things going on.
A lot going on. I think it's 4 pages. So all of the concerts kicked off this year in July and saw great attendance despite the heat. The Jazz Fest weekend in Leonardtown was a great success. The weekend kicked off with a jazz era event on the Leonardtown Square on July 13th. They had music from the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. Great performances. The following day, on Saturday, July 13th, was the main event. The 20th anniversary of the Potomac Jazz and Seafood Festival was held at St. Clements Island. They enjoyed jazz, seafood, and toured the museum. Then the weekend ended back on Leonardtown on July 14th with jazz, art shows, and screening of a jazz-era movie and cocktail party. So great weekend. On that weekend, and then August we had the zip trip, as Mayor Burris mentioned, and then the next Saturday was the 17th annual beach party. It started from 4 and ended at 9. I learned that. Learned it on live TV, but I learned it.
Awesome.
But it was a great showing. Had the sand pit, fire truck. My kids ran around. It was extremely crowded. Great showing. Some of the upcoming events we have are movie night at the Port of Leonardtown Winery on August 9th, this past weekend, from 8 to 10 p.m. And then Sunrise Yoga. August 16th, we have the Salsa and Sangria party at the Leonardtown Winery from 6 to 9 p.m. And then the Leonardtown Summer Music Festival presents the Wesley's Spangler in concert on the Leonardtown Square August 17th from 6 to 9 p.m. And then the second session of the Zumba Fitness and Tai Chi Health and Wellness Series is at the Leonardtown Wharf on August 24th from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. Then on Saturday, August 31st, the Music Festival with Robbie Booth in concert on the Leonardtown Square will take place from 6 to 9 p.m. That's everything.
Okay. A lot going on. Hayden, Community Development and Planning.
I don't have a lot to report, just that a lot of the projects that have been in process have kind of started to get to the completion phase with the library and Garvey Center, the Washington Street Retail Complex, the Hamptons Apartments, the Riken Athletic Center are all moving along very well. I think there's only one unit left at the Washington Street Retail Complex that's being built out now for a new restaurant.
Yep, Doodah Deli.
There's
As soon as they get there, they got some equipment in, but it was broken, so they had to reorder.
and there's a couple buildings downtown that I guess are in process of getting new tenants and going through renovations.
Yep, a lot going on there too. Kristi, utilities?
Don't have a whole lot other than the water line crossing down at Abel and Moakley's all done. It looks like the contractors moved out, I guess, for the rest of the summer, getting ready to move to the next phase, it looks like.
Yeah, I guess
Utility works
Tony
on
said the line had to be inspected yet, I think, and then the next contractor will come in, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure what that phase is, but.
Yeah, I mean, living there hasn't been too bad. I think our water was off one day when they were doing the tie-in, it wasn't bad.
Okay. Jay, Southern Maryland Municipal Association.
All right, Mayor, thank you. So I did attend the beach party. I attended the Fox 5 zip trip and the first Friday first responder, and I think they had, considering it was a pretty good turnout for the first Friday first responder, and there was a lot of events that weekend, but that was still pretty good. My board of retreat for the MML Board of Directors is the second week in September. And Terry, SMMA, did you happen to find that date? September 11th, if anyone wants to go. It's our first,
Where's
pretty
that
much, where's that one, Terry? I forgot.
It'll be at
Indian Head. So that's the first one starting out. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mary, Business Development and Retention.
Okay, Fenwick Street Books sold and has new owners. I haven't gotten in to meet them yet, but it looks like they'll be open the next couple weeks. Social Speakeasy is renovating. I think they're closed today. They were knocking out walls.
Yep.
I'm not exactly sure what they were doing. The Doodah Deli, they said probably in the next 3 weeks that they're hoping to be open. Working with Cameron at Bourbon and Bowes, I'm trying to pull together like a back to school kind of, let's get dressed up and bring in some kids, especially the ones that are starting high school and stuff this year. So I've been working with her on that and wanted to let everybody know that September is Opioid Addiction Awareness Month. And I'd like to work with the high schools and see if we can just get like a memory walk or something that we could just walk around, nothing formal, just something to kind of get together. So it's one of the projects I'm working on.
Good.
So,
Okay. Anybody have anything else for the good of the order? Any comments from the crowd we've got today? Yes, sir.
I'm happy with the outcome of the Dollar General, being that I was directly affected and still may be at some point, but I'm glad that it was able to get pushed right. Thank you to either way you voted. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate you coming out. Okay, anything else?
Forgot to mention about Mahan Reichel will be back
Oh, yeah, I meant to
for,
ask you to, yeah.
follow-up from the strategic plan on the 28th, 29th, and 30th. I've sent out some of the invitations for the stakeholder meetings, but I'll be sending out some more through LBA, and really, there'll be sessions for anyone that would want to attend, so I'll be publicizing those shortly.
Okay. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Good job, Jay.